So one of the questions I get usually from newer dropshippers goes along the lines of, hey, I'm shipping something out, but I'm worried the customer is going to have an issue or want a refund or something of the sort when they receive the invoice in their box, okay? So we're gonna answer first and foremost, is that a problem, right? Secondly, if it is a problem or when it is a problem potentially, how do you handle it? What are some ways that you can deal with it? And third, whether or not you should really worry about this or if it's even an issue, going forward, right? So first and foremost, I think that the majority of people kind of overthink this one, and I totally get it. It's like, hey, if I'm listing something from a specific website, let's use Amazon for this example, and I'm listing it, at like a $5 markup or a $10 markup. If the customer gets an Amazon package, right, could one of two things happen. First and foremost, if they get a package with the invoice in it showing the price, and the price is a lot less than they paid for it from me, will they be annoyed? Will they want a refund? Will they want a partial refund? Will they give me bad feedback? Whatever the case is, totally understand that thought process and kind of where people get that from. The second is like, hey, if they don't receive an invoice, but they get it from a different website, right? So if you get like a Walmart box or a Home Depot box or an Amazon package that says like Amazon Prime, well, are they going to have an issue or question it because it came from that supplier when they ordered it on Facebook or Poshmark or wherever it is, right? And so I really think people overthink this. I don't think it's as big of an issue. I understand where the thought process comes and why new dropshippers worry about this. But first and foremost, I honestly have never or yet to face this issue, and I've probably fulfilled at least 200 to 300 orders already. It's never once come up. And for example, I actually had, I think it was a few days ago, it was probably like 3 or 4 days ago, someone made an order and then I had shipped the product out and they were like, hey, I actually found this on another website for cheaper, can I cancel the order? And I messaged them back and I was like, hey, like unfortunately I've already shipped it out, I can't cancel it for you, because if you have already shipped it out, then obviously you can't cancel it. If you haven't shipped it out, then it's up to your discretion. If you want to cancel it, usually I just cancel it because I don't want an unhappy customer. But so I was like, hey, I can't unfortunately cancel this for you, I apologize, I already shipped it out, otherwise I would. And the person was like, no worries, no big deal, right? And then it literally, the listing that they were talking about where they had potentially seen it a lot cheaper than they bought it from me for is the one that I literally shipped to them and bought from them, right? So for example, let's say this was an Amazon website purchase, right? They were like, hey, I saw this product for $10 cheaper on Amazon, can I cancel my order? And I was like, no, I already shipped it out to you, sorry. And then I literally shipped them that same product via Amazon in an Amazon Prime box, and that customer didn't even say anything, okay? So I think people overthink it. I don't think it's much of a big issue at all. I honestly haven't faced the issue even once yet. I'm sure it will happen and will come up eventually, but most customers either don't realize, don't care, or aren't really tracking those types of things, right? So you have to get into the buyer psychology of this. Most buyers are just ordering things online now and not really paying attention to what they specifically ordered, from what website, where, when it's coming, etc. The only issue or the only time most problems arise is if the thing doesn't come to them and they realize like a week later, like, hey, that's right, I ordered that, like never showed up, let me look into it, right? That's the only time that I've noticed that you might run into an issue. So if you're ordering products and they're being delivered to your customers, especially fast, you won't really run into an issue most of the time, at least I haven't yet, right? So I wouldn't really worry about that. Most people order from many different websites and they're not really tracking like, hey, I ordered this from this website, it's supposed to show up this time, right? They're not following, most people at least. Sometimes you'll get the rare person that's like checking the tracking and like hanging on every single day when the tracking's updated, but that's rare. Most people aren't following those things, so I wouldn't really worry about it, okay? Now, one thing I would say is, if you are using like Amazon, for example, don't go with the gift receipt option, because if you go with the gift receipt option, then the potential invoice could come in it. And on top of that, not only will the invoice come with it, but it will come with like the scannable gift receipt if they decide to return it, which obviously, is not something that you want as a dropshipper, okay? So don't go the gift receipt option. I see a lot of people in Facebook groups suggesting that, and it's something I tested in the past. Never ran into the issue, but I've heard other people doing it and running into that issue of people returning it and then them obviously not getting their package back or their money, right? So you don't want to do that. Don't go with the gift receipt option. Secondly, if you don't go with the gift receipt option on Amazon and other websites, in my experience, usually if they get an invoice, it doesn't show the price, right? So I could be wrong. There might be some instances, especially if it's like a third-party seller shipping it out, where like, I know for example, when I ship like books out merchant fulfilled with Amazon, you're supposed to print the invoice and put it in the box. Most people don't, in my experience. It does happen every once in a while. An eBay purchase might have that, for example, but most of the time it's not gonna be in there, so I wouldn't really worry about it, okay? And finally, if you do run into that issue, and God forbid somebody notices that like, hey, they got an Amazon package, or an eBay package, or a Walmart package, or whatever, right? Because those are like the main retailers, Home Depot as well, like where you're gonna potentially run into this issue. You're not gonna run into this issue if you're using like an obscure one most of the time, because most people won't know about that site or that listing. You're also not, and they're also not gonna be able to differentiate between that site and you as the seller most of the time. And if you're using a wholesale supplier, you really won't run into this issue either, obviously. So it's really just those main retailers. If you run into the issue on eBay, then obviously you can say that you had those products on eBay as well, and you ran out of stock, you know, at your house or your location or your warehouse, and so you shipped it with an eBay label or instead or something like that, right? If you run into that issue on Amazon or Walmart, what you can say is one of two things, and I do this on Poshmark now because some people on Poshmark question it, because on Poshmark, completely different topic, but you have to actually ship the package out, which doesn't, with the Poshmark label, which doesn't actually have the item in it. So they're getting like a thank you and then the item comes. So that's why you run into the issue on Poshmark, not so much on Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. It's really only Poshmark and eBay because you need to use your own labels. So what I basically do in that situation is I do one of two things, right? Because Amazon does third-party fulfillment, and they also have like the, I forget the term for it. It's like, it's not seller fulfilled prime. It's like multi-channel fulfillment or something like that, right? So meaning if you have products in the FBA warehouse in Amazon, you can also, if you get a Walmart order, have Amazon fulfill your Walmart order and things like that. So what you can say in those instances is if Walmart, they get a Walmart package and they complain, or they get an Amazon package and they complain, and keep in mind, I haven't yet faced this issue, and other dropshippers that like I know of that actually do it in the industry rarely face this issue as well. So I think people are overthinking it, but God forbid it does happen to you. You can say one of two things. You can either say, hey, I ran out of inventory at my house or my apartment and or my warehouse, and so I ordered one of my products that I also have in Amazon to you, you know, as a supplementary, you know, product or whatever. So, you know, I made sure that you got your order. I had inventory in Amazon, so I sent it to you, but I didn't have any on hand, so I didn't ship it to you myself, right? You could say something like that. Or you could also say, if it's a Walmart package, you could say something along the lines of like, hey, you know, sometimes the supplier that I use does use Amazon fulfillment, because obviously Amazon logistics handles a lot of shipping and a lot of packages for a lot of companies now. And most people are not going to question that when you give them that response. The main thing that you need to worry about is, are you shipping out your items fast? Are they going to your customers fast? Are you keeping updated with the tracking? And are your customers happy? Are are your listings legitimate and good and describing the items correctly? And if all those things happen, you're rarely going to face the invoice issue in the box, okay? So this was spurred from a question I got from Chris the other day. He said, will they receive the invoice in the box? And then asked obviously follow-up questions. But that's a question I get all the time, and seems to be one of, if not the top question in drop shipping that I kind of see with beginners. So my main answer is, don't worry about it. It's rarely going to be an issue. Deal with it when it happens, if it happens, and it rarely happens, and then say one of the things that I recommended. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Don't stress it. Instead worry about uploading quality listings and, you know, fulfilling orders. And when that then obviously happens, then you can deal with it the 1 out of every couple hundred or 1 out of every 1,000 times that it does happen to you. But let me know your experience. That's my opinion on it, and that's been my experience. Let me know what your experience with this stuff and the invoices, if you use the gift option, if you think that that's a good idea, why or why not. How do you deal with it if a customer has said these things, and have you even seen a customer, you know, object and say these things as well? Let me know in the comments section down below. I would love to hear, you know, other sellers' experiences with it. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.